to week 6 of Shine in 2016. It's all about your good energy. I really want to congratulate you for committing to this over the past 6 weeks. And thanks for all the emails that have been coming in to say all the changes that are starting to happen. I had an email this week from Janice, who is in London, and she wrote to say that she is loving the series and feeling really good about herself in the process. And she said that she thought she couldn't believe how simple it is to feel more energetic. And that is the idea. It's really the more you're kind of realizing that these are choices that you're making, starting with the way you eat, to the way you relate to others, to how you manage your day. You really have a lot of energy, just in the sense that it's all about you. Yeah. And so anyway, how are you feeling so far in the series? I hope you are feeling like Janice really well, and things are kind of coming together for you. And if you haven't set some goals for yourself for the 10 weeks, do that now. It's not too late to do that. And it's fun to sort of then compare at the end, how that goal that you had at the beginning might change for you. So it's a great way to check in. So we've had sort of Sexy February recently with Tisha Morgan, and all about love and getting the love you need with Maureen McAvoy. And they gave you some great tools and ideas about how to feel more connected in your body and in your relationships. Today, I'm so excited as we move into career and more about what's happening around you in the context of your life. So today, I'm really excited to introduce Master Certified Co-Active Coach, Joni Mar, who's going to share all the ways that you can be more of who you are in your career so that you feel more fulfilled and connected and grounded in your strengths and in your goodness, so that your original self is showing up, and that you are truly the author of your own career. So Joni, welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you here to the Shine in 2016 series. And I just want to ask you, what was the decision point that led you to become a Master Certified Professional Coach? Because I think you were working for broadcasting at CBC before.
Yes, that's right. Well, thank you, Joanne, first of all, for inviting me to this series. I'm very excited to be here. And let's see, I went to a seminar in 2000 in downtown Vancouver. And there was like 400 people in this room. Somebody had said, you should go to hear this person speak because he's a professional coach. And it's like what you do. Because actually, after journalism, I was an interior designer. And so they said, well, what you do in your interior design is actually coaching people. And I thought, what is coaching? This was really early days of coaching. So I went to hear this person speak. He used to be a financial planner, and he had started a coach training school. And when he spoke, he was so passionate. I was so excited. And I went, that's exactly what I do. I help people have a vision and then create reality from it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, sign me up. I mean, I have to do this, And it really spoke to me. It was like, I have been doing this since I was like 10 or 12 years old. Kids at school would come to me and say, I got a problem with my teacher or my parents or a classmate. I don't know why they came to me, but, we just talk and they go, oh, I think I know what I'm going to do. And so it's just been my calling. And I finally fell into what I'm being meant to be doing in my lifetime.
Yeah, and I can imagine, like with broadcasting too, you're used to working with groups and being intuitive about what's happening and what people need. And then I can see with the decorating too, how you are, well, actually you're really helping me today because I'm here in Florida right now, actually not in Vancouver. And Joni was actually helping me set up the room so that it didn't have too many distractions. So you're doing the work, you're walking the walk every day, and you are an inspiration for me. And so it sounds like you were at that lecture and you just had that turning point. And how's it been since then?
Yeah. Well, the light bulb went on and I realized, because originally I thought, oh, I'm meant to be a journalist. And my whole goal was to be an overseas foreign correspondent. That didn't actually turn out. I got married, had kids, and you know how life goes sometimes. It takes you in a different direction. And when I came to coaching and heard what he was saying, I realized, oh my gosh, all of that training in broadcasting, helping me to ask provocative and insightful questions, is exactly what we do as coaches. We're helping people to articulate what their thoughts are or what they might be feeling, and they haven't actually had somebody hear what they had to say, and so they were not clear about, what's going on inside themselves. And then in design, what I was really good at was helping the husband and the wife actually building their dream home, and really maybe not articulating their needs and their desires to one another, and then actually having, being at loggerheads when in fact it was just a miscommunication. So I'm able to facilitate that. So I do team coaching and individual coaching and group work as well, as you had just mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just reading today, we don't want to get into this really, but I was just reading today that, 55% of all Canadians, and we've got Americans and Europeans watching the webinar. So I'm not sure what the stats are across the globe, but anyway, it's really interesting that, 55% of millennials aren't happy with their jobs. And, I think that, part of it is sort of, we all kind of go through, we're going to have a lot of changes in our careers over time.
Yeah.
And, there are times when you just kind of feel numbed out or stuck, or kind of like you can't see, kind of the passion in what you're doing anymore. And that's when it's, nice to kind of assess, like, what is my next step, which sounds like that's what happened for you that day. And
Yes.
so how do you work with clients then to, to do that assessment, to kind of figure out what they really should be doing, or, what's more meaningful for them?
Yeah, well, it shows up in all sorts of different ways. So sometimes clients come and they know that they're not happy. Something's just not right for them at work, but they don't have clarity about what it is they want. So we might spend some time clarifying what is the vision that they have for themselves, 5, 10, 20 years from now. And then we put into place steps and goals to actually realize that dream or vision. Sometimes people come and they think they're really happy at work, but they feel like they're drained. They're not engaged, but they should do this job because I've trained all these years to be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever it is, an accountant, and they feel kind of trapped. So they don't feel they have a choice. So sometimes we'll work together and we'll find that spark and re-spark their passion. There must have been a reason that they went into this. Sometimes, though, they actually went into it because they didn't know what else to do. So then we actually take an assessment and take a look at, well, what is it? If you could do anything, if there was no constraints, what would you want to be doing? And sometimes we can draw those characteristics together, and they can find more life in the work that they're doing. Or maybe they actually go for a career switch, as you were mentioning, 55% of Canadians. They might go for a career switch, but maybe not go outside of their current profession, maybe just a different role. Sometimes they go to a different company where there's more values alignment and they feel more like they're being honored and respected for what they bring to work. So those are just some ways. And there's tens of hundreds of other ways that we can work together to find out really what's your passion, what are your strengths, and what is the purpose? What is your personal mission?
That question, is such a powerful one. What difference do you want to make? And in that, to find kind of a calling, like you're saying, that this work that you're doing now feels like a calling for you. Can you talk about that sense of really having that calling?
Yeah. Well, I guess if I look at the 3 careers I've had, and they say that actually most people will have 15 different career changes in their lifetime. I've only had really 3. Um, but the through line for me is helping people realize what they want, meaning realize their dreams, and actually to help them see the extraordinary person that they are when they think they're really just quite ordinary. I think about that in the journalism, doing stories on people and I find people so fascinating and inspiring, the human
Mhm.
spirit, what they're capable of, and where do they find that within themselves? So I've always been fascinated by that. And now in the coaching, I actually can see that. I can see where, oh my gosh, there's this spark that's being, dormant or needs to be lit. And so in working with them, just like connecting them again to their potential or a dream that they had or a promise that they thought, oh, I can never do that.
So then you kind of, sometimes you get into the things we've been told, I guess, as children, or with our parents telling us you should do this or that,
Yes.
or is that kind of what you're saying? And how do you break away from those stories and create something that is authentic?
Yes, yes, that's part of it. Absolutely. My son, actually, it's interesting. He thought he wanted to go into engineering. He's in his first year at university. And just before Christmas, he came to me and he went, and I said, what? What? And he said, I think I made a mistake. I actually think that I want to go into economics and political science and philosophy. And it took me for a moment, I went, oh, but I had dreams of you being an engineer. And I realized, I have to let go of that. This
Mm.
is the work he's going to be doing. And most of his waking life as an adult, he's going to be invested at work. So, yeah, it's first of all recognizing what is your dream? What was your parents' dream for you? And, separating what really is for me. I've had many clients, and it's sad to say, they've come after going through medical school, becoming a doctor for a few years, and realizing this wasn't their dream at all. And all of that work and having to create a new identity for themselves is hard. So
Mhm.
whether you are the young person finding your way in your career, or whether you are a parent of a young person trying to find their career, it's really giving yourself or your child the room and the breadth to kind of thrash around and find out, what is their passion and their calling.
Yeah, and I love that you're bringing up your son, because your son probably has more fearlessness than somebody who is, say, 50. And so just that sense of getting back to the fearlessness of being a child and curious about what else, and without those restrictions and fears of not being able to support yourself. Or, I mean, coming out of medical school, there's quite a bit of debt to pay off, or law
Yeah.
school, or any kind of profession, actually. There's those fears about, the cost. But I guess, what is the cost in the big picture if you stay at something that isn't quite right? And
That's that's a
and I
really good point.
and I guess there's also times when you just tweak it a bit, right? You just
Yeah,
might help them kind of
that's
shift,
right.
not
Yes.
completely change, but shift what they're doing, the way
Mhm.
they're doing it.
Yeah. So sometimes we talk about career change, and they say that about 60% of people change their careers within 3 years. Sometimes you're right; it's just a tweak. They just move within the same organization. They check out a different department, or they move to a different business unit, or maybe they actually discover I'm actually stronger in this than I was in this role, and this new role actually plays to more of my strengths. Or I've discovered an interest that I didn't know. So you could be an accountant, and there's many things that you can do as an accountant. You can work for a big company, which feels very different than if you have your own business, or if you're an auditor, or the many different roles that you can have. So I think part of that career change is actually finding more and more right fit, trying different opportunities, maybe having a change or an increase in responsibility that keeps you alive, engaged, and inspired in your work.
Mm. Is there, a story that you could share of a client that you've worked with that has kind of made that shift? Or
Well, I'm currently working actually with an engineer who, again, finished her schooling, had dreams of what engineering would be like, and the difference that she would make in developing countries. And she got into a engineering firm, and they have her scheduling, and she's very disillusioned. So she's not sure now, should I leave engineering altogether? I'm not sure that any kind of sustainability company would be able to offer me what I want. And she's looking for something where she can be hands-on. So right now we're in the exploration of, let's not write off all engineering firms, and let's stay open to, with your skills, what other kind of roles might there be that might not be in an engineering firm, but maybe they need an engineer. So it could be some other kind of company. Maybe it's I don't know, water filtration. Maybe it's um, a municipality, or maybe it's a government agency. Maybe you want to work in public policy. So the thing is we have no idea all of what's out there and available to us. And it
Yeah.
doesn't look like our traditional lawyer, doctor, engineering room.
Yeah, and I loved, what you said earlier about that spark, and find your spark, because that's the sort of, the fire in your belly, or to use all of those kind of
Yes.
ideas. But, those are the things that are going to make you alive in your work, and then really enjoy what you're doing and feel energetic rather than,
Yes.
another day.
You're right. And I think quickly on, if we're doing a role that somebody else has said, oh, you'd be good for this. Like in high school, they told me, oh, you'd be good in sciences. You should go on the sciences track. So when I got to university, it's like, it was not, I had no connection to it. It wasn't where I was, it wasn't easy for me. And I discovered that actually arts was the way to go. And it's interesting we're talking about this, because my biggest regret actually was not going into law school.
Wow.
I thought at 30 I was like too old.
Joni, you can still go into law school.
Well, I guess the point is, yes, you're right, we can. And what you said earlier was better to be on the path of discovery when you're young, because it just gets harder the older you are, and you carry that regret around with you. I found other ways to use the attributes that I would have used as a lawyer um, in journalism.
Mm.
And I guess that's what I would want for other people to recognize too. It's not so much about the title, it's about what are the attributes or the characteristics that you really want to draw from. And you can use them in any kind of career.
Yeah, and actually what you're doing is kind of similar to law in some ways, developing critical thinking for, helping, guiding clients through their own critical thinking, which is a little bit like law as well. So,
Oh.
you can sort of, yeah, yeah. And so how would you actually help a client, let's say that's a little bit older, that wants to maybe shift their career but take into account the things that they've done in past careers, and
Mhm.
bring that together to the thing that they really, their thing that they're really meant to do.
Yes, yes. Well, usually there's a through line of some sort, or several threads that, you know, uh, every time they're having a career or doing something, or maybe it's even a hobby, there's some connection. And so we're drawing what is the thing that's the common thread here? And when do you light up? So helping the person get clarity about what they're passionate about and what energizes them. You were talking about energy in your series, and that's absolutely right. Because if you're inspired, you jump out of bed, you can hardly wait to do what you're doing. And of course, there are some things in our roles that we might not prefer to do, but we're able to connect to the bigger purpose of it. Um, I'm inspired because I'm making a difference doing X, Y, Z. I feel like I'm using my best gifts in service of some greater good or some specific outcome, or perhaps building my own business. But there's actually like an energy, a momentum. I'm doing this thing. I don't know if you can see here, but I'm
Yeah.
like pulling yourself towards, as opposed to resisting and pulling back. I don't want to go to work.
Mm,
Like we have 75% presenteeism in our workplaces.
mm,
People who are actually not a fit for their role, and sometimes too afraid to move
mhm.
or try something different. And that's such a shame, because there are a lot of things out there that you could be doing, and go to work and come home joyful.
Yeah, that idea of children get up in the morning and they bounce out of bed, and what's happening today, and it's having that spark, right, of a child, that just to wake up and really feel kind of, oh, excited about that one or two things that you're going to do in
Yeah.
that day. Yeah.
Yes. And I think you're also bringing up another great point. Perspective is very important. Looking for what's the opportunity? What do I love about what I'm doing? What's good in this? What's the benefit, and what am I developing in myself? Having that kind of a forward thinking attitude as opposed to seeing, oh, that one little thing that was bad today and blowing that up and focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at it and having an attitude of gratitude.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
So I love what you're saying. It's about gratitude and being standing in a positive kind of perspective, or looking for the things that you can actually build from, like building blocks.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And so, what happens in our brain when we're, reinventing or shifting things with our career? What happens with that?
Oh, okay. So this might be a bit of a long answer.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
I have
So,
a feeling everybody's interested.
well, they're in the brain. We have all these neural connections or neural pathways that, they're like ruts in the road. They're very deep, and like X equals Y, or, if this happens, boom, I go that way. And it's like we have all these default patterns and behaviors. And when we want to make a change, just like we don't have neural connections in that part of the brain, we've never tried this before, it's scary and it's dangerous. So here's kind of like a very quick model of the brain. So the brainstem is here, and the amygdala, or the reactive part of the brain, the reptilian part, is right here. And then it's right in the back here, and it's the fight, flight, or freeze part of us. And so when we don't have neural connections, this part gets activated and goes, whoa, this is scary, I don't want to do this. And what we do in coaching is we actually bring the prefrontal cortex, or the higher mind, the executive functioning part of the brain, back down over the amygdala, calm the brain down, so that actually you could be looking at, well, what could be good about this? What is possible? Well, if I wasn't being reactive, I actually thought this through and had a vision for myself, what might be possible. And then the person actually, with the brain back online, the executive functioning brain back online, it can start to dream. But most of us actually, when we face something, what we know, then there's the what we don't know, we can't make the leap. It's too scary.
Mm.
So the coaching helps to bridge that gap so that the client can say, okay, this is possible. I can take some steps, and with a thought partner.
Yeah, it's great because you're actually mirroring as well what last week Maureen was talking about with, the flip your lid model from Dan Siegel.
Yeah.
And it's great because what you're doing is you're giving sort of a sense of ease through change, and helping guide the client through to the vision. So in creating the vision, there's less stress because they can sort of say, oh yeah, and then so do you figure out each step for them, or, with them kind of,
Well,
yeah.
and it is because coaching is specific to the individual client. Some
Hmm.
people actually can go whoop and make a big leap. Some people need baby steps, and they need high accountability, meaning they need to know somebody's right there with them because it's so terrifying. Also depends on the size of the change they're making. If I'm going from company A to company C, and I'm talking about a change of geography, and I'm talking about a new career, that can be very big. If I'm talking about I want to go from this business unit to that business unit inside the same company and a level change, that might not be so scary. So it might be okay. I challenge you to actually go talk to the new director next week and see what's available. It might be that quick. And then come back and tell me how it went.
That's such a great idea. So you give them that one challenge kind of thing, and they come back, and then what happens? They complete that, and
And then we say, okay, so what'd you learn from that? What did you think was the role what you thought it would be? Might be, what do you think it would be like to work with that new supervisor? Because people join a company and they leave the company because of the boss. So sometimes we're making a change not because we didn't like the career. Sometimes we want to move away from the boss. So I would follow up with questions, and then in the coaching, I determine, well, how big a next step can they take? Or do they need some micro steps along the way? And all the time, we're holding a bigger vision at the same time. What is it we're trying to, where do you want to get to? What's your dream or your ideal? So we're holding that more esoteric conceptual part as well as the tactical results focused steps.
Mm. Yeah, and there is that kind of, remember the movie, if you build it, they will come. So if
Mhm.
you actually take some time to know where you're going, how great to, if you just have to have a vision.
Yes, yes. Actually, you're raising a great point, Joanne, because it's really hard for people to jump from something they know to the unknown if they can't actually visualize what it might be like. And the brain actually can't tell the difference between real and imagined. So if we help the client to visualize what could be possible, they actually, again, the lid can come down. They can imagine they could take that step.
Mm.
And I find that when you have a very strong, or the client has a very strong vision, it's like they're inspired and they want to go towards it.
Mm. Yeah, and so how do you get them to create that vision? What would you suggest as homework around that?
Yes. Well, so different people have different styles. Many people like to journal. So they imagine what would it be like in their idyllic life 10 years from now. So I recommend pushing the goal line out further, or the vision. What is it ideally would you like to have? Some people, actually, you might push out to what is the legacy you want to leave behind.
Mm.
Because for some people, that's very compelling. So they might journal that. And I did that with my coach like a decade or so ago. It was very powerful to be looking at, what do I want for my children? What do I want to be living? What kind of work do I want to be doing? What kind of clients do I want to have? Other
Mm.
people are more visual, and they love to do collages or vision boards and put key phrases and photographs up. And for them, every time they look at that, they get re-inspired and reconnected. And what I found doing my own vision boards is that when I look back on them, I go, oh my gosh, that really happened. It's amazing how the brain just picks up on it, right? You start imagining it, you start seeing it, and then you actually create your reality to match your vision. It's like magic. It's
It
kind
is
of, yeah,
amazing, isn't it? And it's actually cognitive behavioral too, right? It's because I did a vision board this year and I had no idea I was going to end up doing a webinar series. And it's actually ended up to be this really fun project. But some girlfriends and I got together this over Christmas and we put together a vision board. And, in the vision board, I had kind of put, some of the ingredients of what's happening now. And I guess when you're looking at it every day, and I've got it up by my closet, unconsciously we're reminding
that's
ourselves
it.
constantly, what am I doing in line with that?
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah,
So I would say that if you're trying to set goals and not able to attain them, one of the things to think about first is the vision first. Imagine what you want. And then another key is, who do I want to be? What are the characteristics that I need to actually bring in myself that could create that kind of a vision? Like, what kind of person would I have to be? Proactive, determined, courageous, or more grateful, gracious, maybe gentler or softer? um, Coming up with the key attributes and then stepping into those attributes every day. Okay, remember, I was just on a call with somebody last week, and she wants to be an intentional, conscious leader. And they had a meeting and it was a mess. So when I asked her, I said, so who did you intend to be in the meeting? And she said, I don't know. So it's really hard to actually create the results you want when you're not connected to who you want to be.
I
Because
love
there's,
that idea, to think
yeah,
who you want to be in whatever job you're doing or whatever project you're working on. Nice.
yes, yes, yes. And then the goals are kind of nested underneath that. They're third in line. So what are the targets? What are the goals? What do I want to achieve? And then further down below that so what are the tactical steps I need to take to accomplish that? But you see, they're all nested under vision, who you want to be, then the goals, and then the steps. And most people come at it backwards. They start with the tactical first.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
then
that makes so much sense actually, to just start with the who do you want to be first, and then also considering what kind of a learner you are, whether you're auditory or visual,
yeah,
and working from that framework so that we're actually working in line with how we are.
yes. Well, there is one other step too. Whether you're visual or kinesthetic or however you do this, but you're writing it down and putting it somewhere you can hold yourself accountable, not just in your head, because the brain does all kinds of funny things to have, if we get scared, oh no, I don't need to do that today. Or if we feel resistance, oh no, that wasn't that important to me. So having it there, and I have some clients who actually frame their goals and their vision and they put it in the bathroom wall and they look at it every day. So you have to be connected to the vision and all of those other steps as well on a regular basis.
Great. And then how do you actually help them, work that within the framework of where they are in their lives? So if they've got children, they're going to be, possibly drawn a bit in the different roles that they've got. And those are some of the things that need to come into that, I imagine.
Yes, yes. Well, most people who I work with come to me around their professional life. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes they say, okay, the company's paying, so I should only work on this. And the coaching the coactive coaching is working on the whole life because every part impacts the other part as well. So we take that into consideration. Yes, you're going for a promotion and you want to, be working on your career and you have a family, and we look at the values. So what are the common values at work and at home that you want to be honoring? Maybe it's something around loyalty. So I'm loyal here and I'm loyal there, and sometimes you're in conflict. So we use the values also as a guide to make decisions. Should I go to my child's recital or should I go on that business trip that would really, really give me great visibility? And it's often not the either or. There's usually another solution that the client hasn't thought about. So that's what the coaching does is, okay, you want both. How could we create it so you could have it all? Maybe not on every single point, but on whole, that you feel like you're honoring all these different aspects of your complex life.
And life is complex, isn't it? And we talked a little bit about that in last week's session with Maureen McAvoy, but just the sense of balancing the relationship in the career as well. And so, I think about your job, Joni, and you're giving workshops all around the globe. How do you keep up with it all?
Well, first of all, I love my life, and every day
I
I get
know.
up and I just pinch myself. I was just like, wow, I love my life.
I know you do because I see the spark in you. Totally, it's in your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the way I kind of frame things, it's important for me to be on my own purpose if that's what I'm coaching people on. I have to be living it and walking the talk because that just makes the results better for the clients and they can see, oh, it is possible. And it is sometimes a challenge, but what I love about the travel that I get to do is I get to make an impact inside large organizations globally. I always tack on a few days of personal travel as well while I'm out. And then I have long periods at home where I'm home for the kids. So I can make their lunches, I can be here and make meals for them or just check in with them when they come home from school because I have a lot of, I'll say downtime. And I have the luxury and the flexibility to make my schedule work for me. It did take a long time because I will say at first I tried to actually please all the clients, and then it's like, wait a minute, this is it's important for me to actually have the business fit for me because it's what I'm telling people: make your life fit for you.
So you're walking the walk, Joni, and I really appreciate that, the sense of applying boundaries and helping clients really establish some personal boundaries, and you've got them for yourself, so you are actually living authentically in alignment with what you're helping your clients achieve.
Thank you. And I want to make it clear that I fall down all the time too. So it's I see, oh gosh, I work too much, I work too hard there, or oh wow, I took a lot of time off there, and now I got to scramble to get back up. So it's not perfect, but I'm trying to be conscious about it.
So are there some favorite apps that you've got in your that you would recommend for clients that are busy, that are traveling quite a bit, or trying to juggle, children and career and partner and all of that?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I survive on them.
Okay,
Yeah.
share. Come on, girlfriend.
Okay. So totally randomly here. For traveling, I highly recommend TripIt. Um,
Oh,
it, it, all you have to do is when you get your confirmation for hotel or flights, you send an email to TripIt, and it loads it into your account, and it syncs to your phone or your tablet and to your laptop, and then you press a button and it emails to whoever you want to email the plans to. And then
wow.
I also put notes in there so that my kids know, okay, contact so and so, here's the emergency contact, and all that goes to them directly. I
Oh, that's
highly
great.
recommend that. Yeah, gives you the gate number, and you can program it so it sends you updates if there's changes in the gates.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like having a personal assistant when you're traveling. Yeah. Another one that I have my whole family on, and my assistants and my accountant on, is Wunderlist. So Wunderlist is an app where you can have to-do lists for everybody, and you both see what's on your to-do list. So say my daughter has one with me, my son, and my assistant. And so when I have a new task, I type it in there, or if they have a request of me, they type it in there, and both people can see it. And then when you've done it, you hit click, and then both people can see it was done. So it's great for taking out the garbage.
That's great. Good
Yeah.
parenting.
Let's see what. So I don't know about you, but I can never remember my passwords.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I use LastPass.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when I'm on my phone, you lock your phone and then you can't remember how to get into the different, and I need to be at my laptop. So LastPass will just, you type in your master code and then it just auto populates. And again, I can secretly share the passwords with whoever I want to. They can't see the passwords, but they can gain access. So any of the accounting software that we're using together, I can share with one person. My passport information, etc., I can share with a different person, and it makes my life so much easier.
Because what you're describing are ways that we can actually bring the stresses down, and
Yeah,
then, the creativity gets turned back on. And so that's so helpful. And I imagine, you make sure you work with clients, and, so that they are actually being supported at home as well. It sounds like you've got an assistant. And sometimes it may be as simple as clients making sure that they've got somebody doing their laundry or housekeeping if they're really traveling a lot, or, obviously somebody's got to be taking care of your kids, but somebody's doing the things that you otherwise, can't get around to doing.
yeah, yeah. Well, whether it's at work or if it's at home, we all have certain strengths. And what many of us end up doing is we think we have to do it all, and they're not our strengths. And we get more leverage if we're actually working our strengths. It's just like at work. If you're not good at something, what do? You delegate, or you ask somebody to help you, or you trade. I'll help you with that if you could help me with this. Sometimes at home, especially if we're a woman, we think we have to take care of the home front, and of course we have an aspiring career over here. And oh boy, we better be a good mom too. And there are ways. You don't have to abdicate your role, but there are ways to actually make your roles much easier, either
Mm.
human support or technological support,
I know.
or both.
I really agree with you on that. I think that often we just expect that we should be able to do it all, and in fact, life is pretty complex now with all of the hats that we've got, that we all wear, men and women, and just, yeah, pressure means that
Yeah,
it's hard to be creative. So we've got to kind of take care of those stresses.
I think
So.
that's the key word there, creative, right? Think out of the box. Yeah.
And let's just talk a little bit more about being creative. Can you actually share, you mentioned on your website something about the imposter syndrome. Can you talk about that, how you help people get over the imposter syndrome?
Oh, yeah. So that's the imposter syndrome plagues about 70% of high achievers. And what it refers to, it is actually a psychological condition. It was coined in the 70s. And it's where you actually diminish your accomplishments, and you don't see how, you don't have a realistic picture of how good you are. And you're always looking over your shoulder, afraid that somebody's going to see that you're a fraud. So those are the two main characteristics. Um, when somebody comes and they're always feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm going to get found out, the first thing I say is, so this way you're looking at things is very normal. 70%. So I know you're a high achiever because 70% of high achievers suffer from this, and that's what actually keeps them motivated and driven. It's not the most healthy way to be driven, though. So after normalizing with it, like, okay, it's just a condition, and here are some ways that we're going to overcome it. Mostly, we're looking at another person and comparing their outside to how we feel inside. And it's not a fair comparison because we don't know how the other person's feeling inside. We just think that they're confident and they're showing up confident, and they're extroverted, or we imagine or assume what they're like inside, but the inside and outside don't always translate. So it's unfair to compare our inside, how we're feeling, to their exterior. Okay, that's the first thing, and that's usually like a huge aha for people. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how they're thinking or feeling. The second is, yeah, go ahead, Joanne.
No, I was going to say that is so true. And there's research around that the first thing people will say, generally, we will report right in about all of our flaws or the things we should have done better. And, 2 out of 3 times we'll go to that more than, really celebrating the things that have gone well. So yes. It's always feeling, should have done a better job, all those shoulds,
Yeah, never measuring up. Well, and here's another, we're all human, and here's another truth about the brain. The brain is Teflon for good, meaning you do something good and it slides right off, but it's Velcro for bad or negative. So when I help people recognize, actually, so, you got one 6 out of 10 in your performance evaluation, and the rest are 9s and 10s, and you're focusing on that 1 6. So helping to reframe, okay, what is the kernel of truth in that we could work on? And what are we celebrating about all the other 90% of things that are going well? So oftentimes the brain just sticks on that one negative thing. So the coach actually helps to, wait, let's take a look at the whole big picture here.
And what's important about that, Joni?
Good coaching question, Joanne. Well, what's important is it's really not the truth. The brain has made a story up and kind of manipulated the facts. And we aren't looking at the objective facts. We're, because we have this drive to achieve or excel or be excellent, we focus on the one thing that we could improve on. And that's really not the whole picture of us. Life is complex. We're complex. So we've got to look at it at a whole more holistic viewpoint, because that's more reality and it's more life-giving and empowering for us than riding ourselves all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the bigger stretch between the authentic self and the ideal self. If the bigger the gap there, the more anxiety and the more that imposter syndrome sounds like it's going to show up. So, bringing clients back into alignment, feeling a sense of that authentic self, would give them ease and less anxiety, and again, more creativity. Am I right?
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
That is. Thank you for saying that. The other thing is, it's so hard to actually know who our authentic self is. Never mind then actually being willing to expose our authenticity out in the world, because we're afraid of criticism, shame, maybe abandonment, even like old wounds, right? So the imposter syndrome actually has to make you be perfect, be unflawed. And it's not healthy. It's not helpful. So I like to work with clients to help them. Okay, we're going to fail. Ta-da! It's okay. What did you learn from that? And create an environment where it is safe to fail in relationship with another person, your coach, and see that, wow, nothing bad happened. And as we have repeated successes and failures together, they actually realize, wow, that thing I was scared about, it's not so scary.
Yeah, and I can see that would bring a lot of freedom for your clients. It's just one of, when you think about the imposter syndrome as being so constricting, and then, really just owning that, it's so freeing.
Yes.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like this big black monster and you can't see it. So,
Mm,
but you have this foreboding feeling all the time that you can't
mm,
just get away from. So, yeah, we often do a lot of work using brain science, using strategies. As you were saying, I'm not a therapist, but you were talking about cognitive behavioral therapy.
yeah.
Probably um, is changing their behaviors and their patterns and beliefs.
Mm,
Probably similar to what you do, but in a completely different modality.
yeah.
I think I should interview you.
Well, okay. What would be, like three of your favorite powerful questions that would help get over the imposter syndrome? You could actually ask me. And I think sometimes I do, suffer a bit of that. I just
Yeah.
always feel I could have done a better job, or, and it does probably connect to anxiety around, pressure when I was younger around school and doing well at school and wanting to, and I don't think that's ever really left me. I do tend to
Oh,
want to do the best job at things that I do. And so what would be some powerful questions that you might ask
okay.
Joni? You could ask me.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So some of the questions might be in the vein of, this syndrome or this thought that you have that you're never accomplishing what you want to accomplish. What is the one little piece of truth in there that we want to pay attention to? Just one.
Hmm.
And then we tease that out and then we just look at that and say, okay, so how could we implement that? Let's discard the rest.
Mm.
Okay. So
Nice.
now we're honoring that. And so the person feels like, oh, some relief. Okay, I wasn't crazy. There is something there. But
Mm.
it's not allowing that imposter syndrome to kind of overtake them.
Mm.
Another is, what's the opportunity? What's the opportunity that you might be missing?
That's a
Um,
great one.
yeah, yeah. What is the cost to you of
Mm.
listening to this voice? Another one, sometimes I like to mock the imposter. So where is this voice? Come on, let me at him. Let me talk to him, right? And the person's like, I don't know where it is. It's right. That is fiction. That is fiction. And here's what I know. So sometimes as a coach, I'll say, here's what I know about you. You've
Mm.
accomplished X, Y, Z. The truth is you have these characteristics,
Mm.
and reminding this is reality. And I can point to the proof because of what they've done in the coaching. So keeping it real, separating fiction from fact.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really that's great. It's so nice to be able to create a safe context for a client to move past it and see what that feels like. And a lot of the momentum with therapy is going to emotionally focus therapy instead of connecting with the body and what that feels like. And so even just having a client experience letting go of the gremlin that you're talking about, like,
Yeah.
come on out, that gremlin, bring it out here, right? And
Come
being
on.
playful with it, right?
Yeah.
Just being playful with it creates a brain change that gives a little dopamine and a little bit serotonin, and all of those things are helping them carve out a new path of choices that they can make for their career. And
Yeah, that's true.
so why is it so important to celebrate successes? You talked a little bit about that a few minutes ago. Why is
Yes. Well, I guess it is. We're talking about the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
It's a great antidote to the imposter saying you're not good enough. Well, who do you think you are? You're going to get discovered. And if you're building up your bank account, if you will, of successes, um, let me take a step back. By the time a child is 18 years old, they need to hear 20 positive acknowledgments from you as the parent for every one corrective one you've given them, for them to feel it's equal. So we're starving for positive feedback. And what we get mostly in our life is corrective. Do it differently, do it this way, that's wrong. And so we think we're broken, we need fixing, we're not good enough. And all that does is it keeps the imposter syndrome kind of alive and kicking in us. And it takes a lot of foresight for a person to actually catch somebody doing something well and then acknowledging that. wow, thank you for taking the garbage out. I really noticed that you remembered. Thank
Mm.
you. Usually it's the other way around. You forgot the garbage again. So if we can reorient ourselves and our feedback to people, then they'll be more inspired. Their behavior will shift because they'll do more of the kinds of things that we're pointing them to because we all want attention. The number one greatest human emotional need is to feel appreciated, and we don't get enough of that.
And it just when that from that place of imperfection, there's a freedom as well that actually probably can clear out a lot of the the negative energy that can show up in a toxic workplace. When there's a lot of politics going on, it's so important to step away
Yeah.
from the fray of that, right, and start to be able to come in with a kind of fresh experience so that those stories aren't going on, right? For
You're
yourself.
right. Yes,
Hmm.
yes. So if you're a leader in an organization, the most admired leaders are ones with high emotional intelligence. So they have the self-awareness and the empathy. They can see what's happening with other people, and they build those people up, and they're building followership as well. I mean, of course, it's got to be genuine. It's not like a platitude to somebody, but you're catching what they're doing well, and people can feel when you're authentically appreciating or valuing them, and they actually want to do more in the organization and for their leader when they feel appreciated. So it
Mm.
makes them feel like they're making a difference. As a leader, you're actually inspiring the greatness out of people. And you're right, you have a more functional workplace.
Would you recommend a client do something first thing in the morning before they go to work to kind of get into that headspace and bring that, and I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's many things to do. Again, it's very personal, but some of the things that people do just to get grounded so that they're going to work being intentional and conscious about who they want to be is so meditation, mindfulness, really getting connected to uh, what's going on in me, what's around me, and being present. Because so much of what we're doing at work is we're multitasking and we're not really even listening to the other person because we're doing a text message at the same time hearing an email come in. We're only giving a quarter of the attention to the person we're talking to. So people are feeling dissatisfied. So just really working on being present where you are right now and not distracted.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it takes for you to do that. Some people it's exercise, stretching, yoga, prayer, meditation. For me, I take 30 minutes in the morning and I just really focus on gratitude and where I am. Like just letting myself just feel the space around me. So I'm not really meditating, but what it is there are two different paths in the brain. There are many different networks, but the network that has us task focused at work is not our natural mode. The default mode, which has creativity and envisioning, is the mode when we're not sitting at the computer and working on something. So what I'm doing is I'm allowing that part of my brain just to imagine, to create, um, and just come online because what it does is it connects all those disparate tasks and actually creates strategy. And that's when you get your eureka moments. I don't know if you get them, but sometimes I'll get them just as I'm dozing off or just as I'm waking up in the morning. And it's like, oh, of course, that's the answer. So I'm
Mm.
allowing that part of the brain some space and time.
Yeah, I find that too, and it just having that time in the morning to kind of connect, whether it's out for a run and just connecting in the environment, but feeling that connection then all day with me,
Yeah.
and then more connected with people that I'm working with. And I just thought, God, it would be nice if everybody in the world did that. Because I've got a question here from somebody who's in a very stressful situation. And her name is Lorna. It's a question from Lorna. And she said, I was brought into my company in an upper management position. And it's been really stressful getting my feet on the ground here so far. And because I got the job that somebody else wanted. What should I be focusing on first to turn this around?
Mm. Well, yes. So it's tricky when you get into a role and there's somebody else that was on the team that wanted the same role. If it's a situation like that, the first thing is to actually go have a meeting with that person and clear the air.
Mm.
Ask, find out how, have empathy. How does that feel? What's it like now to actually be working either for me or with me in this new role? What kind of support do you need from me? How could we collaborate? Getting that person as an ally on side, and probably there are many other people that were rooting for that individual. So really getting to know the team and connect with them before you start creating initiatives and asking people to do things. Really take the time to understand the individuals so that they feel like you really do care. I mean, I don't mean do it in order so that they think you care, but really just demonstrate that you're part of the team with them and you want to collaborate with them because you want to be considered one of them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. So what you're saying is the relationships at work are probably the most important thing that we all focus on, not so much about the jobs that are getting done initially, but actually on the relationships.
Yes. So a lot of high drivers will drive for the results and they might forget the relationship. And then other people are very relationship focused and they're not pushing the results as much. Really, it is an interplay of both.
Mm.
And the relationship is first, creating that because then people are inspired to follow you. That's way easier than driving for results and then having to push people towards the result. Easier to
Mm-hmm.
actually enroll them and engage them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Joni. And I love it because you're working proactively in that situation. You're suggesting that Lorna should come right into her job and really approach head on with this girl, build that relationship, and from there things will start to develop for her,
Yes.
rather than ignore that dynamic. Yeah.
Yes. And not wait for them, not to be told around. There's an elephant in the room, and really, have a take the high road and open up the conversation. Yeah, somebody's got to do it, and you'll be demonstrating your leadership.
Yeah. So it just sounds great to have you on Lorna's team. So how do people get a hold of you, Joni?
Well, I have a website. So it's www.jonimar, JONIMAR.com. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn as well, but I don't remember the you could just Google me, I guess, or call Joanne.
Actually, it's on the email that you get from Shine in 2016 too. So, and I think actually your website is there too. But anyway, just look up Joni Mar. That's JONIMAR. Joni, just fabulous. It's so great. Thank you so much. And oh, I have a little poem here, and just because I think our careers do tell a story about our lives, and we want to kind of get back to that sometimes with our careers, and in the way that we work from kind of a heart-centered place. And this is a poem by somebody from Ireland. His name is David White, and he says, "Above the mountains, the geese turn into the light again, painting their black silhouettes on an open sky. Sometimes everything has to be inscribed across the heavens so you can find the one line already written inside you. Sometimes it takes a great sky to find that first bright, indescribable wedge of freedom in your own heart. Sometimes with the bones of the black sticks when left in the fire has gone out, someone has written something new in the ashes of your life. You are not leaving. Even as the light fades quickly now, you are arriving." And I think, Joni, you've given us a new arrival in our careers today. I really appreciate. Thank you so much for all the tips and insights. And again, anybody who wants to work with Joni or find out more, you can reach her on her website, Joni Mar, JONIMAR. Next week, on Shine in 2016, Joanne McKinney will be here to share ways that you can meet your athletic goals this year by being in better physical balance. You'll also learn how you can work out more efficiently and get better results in a shorter time. Isn't that great? So remember, also, if you missed any of the earlier sessions, you can always access them through the archive. And when you do that, you'll be supporting the not-for-profit Dress for Success. Thanks for being with us today. And Joni, thank you for volunteering, and all of our speakers for volunteering through the series. It really does feel like a heart project, and I hope that you're all feeling that sense of shining in your life, and that good energy that will that you can really make a difference with.
Thank you, Joanne. I just want to say, you know, you are radiant, and this work that you've put together here, all of the speakers, for the benefit of all these listeners, and for the cause of Dress for Success, to help women get back on their feet. I really want to acknowledge your generosity and grace. Thank you.
Thank you. It feels good. You know, this whole project came about quite serendipitously, really through my daughter, and I don't know if I've mentioned that, but maybe I'll just take a second and say, you know, I was out shopping with my daughter Ashley over Christmas, and she is on the board for Dress for Success, and she had to go in to sign some checks for them, and they were kind of thinking about their viability. They do a lot of projects, and wanting to create fundraising for their program. And so I kind of I'm one of those people that jumps right in, Joni. So I did jump right in, because I love the fact that she's volunteering on something like this. She's a CA, but she does this volunteer work. So so anyway, before you know it, I'm, you know, signing up to do this webinar series, and, you know, talk about developing your career into a new path. It's created, all my little neurons are going, yay, I like this, it's fun. It's really fun. I feel so inspired by you and, you know, 9 other speakers that are on the series, and I'm applying some of the things that, you know, stay with me. And it's such a joy to get emails from people who are creating change and, you know, spreading it out with their friends and partners and at work. So yeah, it feels good, and it's just, and we've doubled in the numbers, and it just continues to grow every week. So yeah, thanks for being part of it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Anytime, my pleasure. Okay.
Thanks, Joni. Bye.
Bye for now.